Good morning, Congressman Taylor. How are you today? I know you had a late night last night for President Trump's speech. How you doing today?
Doing great, Bill. Good morning. Thanks for having me on. It was indeed a great evening.
Well, what is your immediate reaction to President Trump's speech? Technically, it was not a State of the Union address, but man, he laid out an agenda.
Yeah, I was struck by the amazingly positive tenor of the speech, and not surprised, but struck by it for sure. And it was a very forward-thinking speech, and the energy in the room was palpable. I don't know how it looked on TV, but I can tell you there on the floor, everybody's very excited. And I'm sure you saw how many times we stood and applauded, and probably should have done it a few more times. Honestly, it was a great speech. President Trump recognizes the limitless potential of America, like few other people do, and he's acting on it, and we're hoping to help him.
Congressman Taylor, President Trump and the House Republicans have had, pretty much control from the executive branch and legislative branch now for about 3 months. Can you talk to our listeners a little bit about the Republicans and the president's wins so far this year?
Yeah, it's such a long list. It's hard to name them all, but first and foremost, I think most people wanted to see the border addressed, and you've probably seen the numbers by now. There were 24 times more people crossing the border last February than there were this February. It's down 95%. Not only are people not coming, some are leaving, which is good. The people that aren't supposed to be here are leaving on their own, which is that's the best of all possible worlds. And Tom Homan's really all over the country getting rid of the worst of the worst, and I think everybody's very relieved to see that. President Trump is rolling back the regulations on that affect family businesses and families themselves, family units themselves. He mentioned that they're trying to remove 10 federal regulations for every one that's added, which our office has sponsored a bill to do that very thing as well, to codify the president's executive order in that regard. He's done so much. He's got the NCAA to finally get with men out of women's sports. It goes on and on. They're working hard to stop the fentanyl that's flowing into our country from the north and the south. He mentioned last night it was a surprise win, but that was a great one, and obviously should have been done a long time ago. The terrorists behind the Abbey Gate atrocity from the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan under the previous administration. He had the temerity to say balance the budget again. You couldn't find an American politician to even suggest that over the last few years, maybe longer than it should have been. But he believes everything is possible, and it's great to have that kind of outlook at the top of the organization, so to speak.
Congressman, can you update our listeners a little bit about the progress in the House budget reconciliation mode?
Yeah, we got the budget resolution passed, and they're going to go to work on the Senate's going to take it up and see how they do with it, and after the outcome of that, we'll get on with the reconciliation process, and I think that's going to be a very positive thing. We're hoping to avoid shutdown next week because no one needs that. No one wants a continuing resolution either, but we'll see what happens, and I think we're going to get a good result for the American people out of the reconciliation process.
Congressman Taylor, you have put a ton of work into the Regulation Decimation Act. It was just introduced in the Senate by Senator Rick Scott of Florida. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about that?
Yes, sir. That's a bill that requires the removal of 10 federal regulations for every new one that's enacted. President Trump actually said that very thing last night during his speech, and honored to have Senator Scott pick it up for us on the other side, and hopefully we can make some real progress there. The onerous regulatory scheme in the United States is, it's gotten way out of hand. The elimination of the Chevron deference should slow down the enactment of new ones by these bureaucracies, but we also have to do the hard work of getting rid of the ineffective and counterproductive ones we have in place already.
And Congressman, finally this morning, can you give us a little bit about your opinion and what you think is going to transpire here in the near future regarding the current administration's relationship with Ukraine?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not privy to all the negotiations, but the president gave a very positive update last night. I'm sure you heard. Everybody wants to see an end to that war, I believe. At least I know all the Republicans do. President Trump was, as part of his campaign, promising to end that war quickly. So that creates motivation for the other side of the aisle to see it extended to make it look like the president is not coming through with his promises. But I think the bulk of the world would like to see that war ended as soon as possible. It becomes sort of a pointless war with endless deaths on both sides, the depletion of our military resources and billions of dollars sent over there now unaccounted for. Everybody needs to see that in, and I think we got the right man in place to get that done.
Congressman, you are, without a doubt, the hardest working United States representative right now there in Congress, man. So appreciative of your time this morning, once again, after a late night, and I'm sure you hit the ground running this morning, man. Thank you so much.
Bill, thanks for having me on, and I appreciate it and hope to talk to you again soon.